Both Hex, Shards of Fate, and Paragon teach us how to play cards. NCSoft and Nexon announced new games coming to the West. Marvel Heroes 2016 has officially arrived, and Black Desert reveals both Closed Beta 2 and its official launch date. What's happening, guys? James Ballon here with MMOHuts.com with a quick weekly recap for MMO news and announcements of the week ending February 1st, 2016. Starting off the news this week, we see that ArenaNet released the Winter 2016 quarterly update for Guild Wars 2. As of January 26, players have been able to take to the skies of Central Tyria on their gliders, do battle against a deadlier Shatterer, organize their squad with map markers and promotions, summon an old friend to fight beside them in Stronghold, and celebrate traditional Lunar New Year with all kinds of festivities. The Shatterer is one of Guild Wars 2's most iconic fights, and now has been completely ramped up. And since the update brings in the gliding to Central Tyria, launch pads have been added in, pointing in the Shatterer's direction. So you gotta swoop in, drop some bombs while you can, and try not to get electrocuted or shoved into a crystal. That'd be nice. The Lunar New Year festivities last in-game through February 9th, so don't miss out on that. But besides all the added features and revamps, each quarterly update will contain adjustments to professions and their skills, weapons, and traits in order to keep the game fun and fair. On a similar note, Cabal II launched its Chapter 2 Calamity of War update this past week, increasing the level cap, introducing new items and skills, new locations, and more. The new level cap is now 50, and with that we see new skills added for each class, one at 47 and a second at level 50. Not to mention there are two new sets of top-tier equipment on top of that. Beyond all of these things, cartel factions have been added in. Now players can choose from three factions: the South Cartel, Northwest Cartel, and the Eastern Rebellion, each offering special benefits and skills for players who reach a high enough level within the faction. With the addition to the cartels, we see the Ramparts, Daily Nation Wars, roaming boss monsters, and a couple of new dungeons are just some of the activities happening in the War of Ramparts. No doubt about it, this update has some crazy looking bosses to fight. Lots happening in Cabal 2 this past week. Check out the new trailer at the site post along with the official patch notes for more details. Other exciting news came in early last week as Nexon America and We Made Entertainment announced Riders of Icarus, a free-to-play action-adventure MMORPG featuring aerial combat and mounted combat on top of beasts. We kind of laughed when we saw the press release because we almost put this game on the most anticipated games of 2016, but we didn't actually think we were going to see it this year. And then this happens. This game goes by the name of Icarus Online in Korea. The newly announced Western version doesn't exactly have a trailer just yet, so that's actually what you're seeing here. But it's the same game that is coming to the West. The unique part of this game is that players can take flight on the backs of crazy-looking mounts, ranging from bears to fire-breathing dragons. And you can fight on land and air, so the focus is that they impact the battle more so than we're used to seeing. The closed beta has started as of this past weekend and lasts until tomorrow, February 2nd, but there's going to be a larger closed beta test that will follow at a later date, so head over to the site posted at MMOHuts.com and sign up for a chance to join the beta test, which is supposed to be soon. Next up, Perfect World Entertainment celebrates the launch of Swordsman Online on Steam. According to Art Games, this was a move long in the making, and as a celebration, they're kicking off a very special community event this month, which they haven't really released the details on. It's definitely good for them to make it to Steam. It's going to bring a lot of new players in, though with Blade and Soul as big as it is right now, I feel like their timing might have been a little bit off. Just saying. But speaking of Steam, this past weekend, Fractured Space had a free Steam weekend, the kind that actually lets you keep the game after downloading it, which is the best kind. If you don't know already, Fractured Space is a space combat game that's getting compared to Dreadnought recently, actually, where players pilot massive ships in tactical team-based online battles. Originally launched on Steam Early Access back in November of 2014, this past week's update, known as The Escape, delivers performance and gameplay enhancements and resets the game's tech tree to its final version, so all ships, experience, and credits unlocked from this point forward will be reflected in the final version of the game, planned for release later in 2016. It's a pretty nice looking game, to be honest, definitely worth checking out, especially after being teased by Dreadnought. As of today, February 1st, the game is still free to download and play, even though it's not the weekend. And like I said, once you do so, you get to keep it forever. Not sure how long that will last, so you might want to get it quick. Also last week, we see yet another Paragon video, this time showcasing the card system and deck builder in the game. Now this one's targeted towards the players currently in the alpha, but it still gives you a basic rundown of the cards and how they are used in the game, and it's pretty straightforward from what you can tell. Essentially, it works the same way as skill power-ups do in most other MOBAs. As you go along, you gain more experience to unlock more options for cards in both passive and active skills. Definitely a good video to watch if you're wanting to better prepare for getting into the next round of beta invites, which will hopefully happen. Interesting enough, NCSoft revealed a new title for the West this past week to compete in the MOBA market, called Master X Master, or MXM for short. And oddly enough, this is another game that we felt we needed to put in the most anticipated games of 2016, but we're sort of glad we didn't, seeing that 3 MOBAs and a half a MOBA is way too many MOBAs to anticipate for 1 year, according to you guys. That, and we didn't know it was coming. Regardless, this game has been around in Korea for a decent time now, and is somewhat unique when it comes to MOBAs. First off, the heroes of the game are primarily stars from other NCSoft games like Ion, Lineage, Wildstar, Guild Wars 2, and Blade and Soul, so it's kind of like a NCSoft Heroes of the Storm, so to speak. Secondly, the game has a unique tag system that lets you swap between 2 characters mid-combat. So here players are going to be focusing on what 2 masters to combo the best. This game offers a variety of different PvP modes as well as a co-op story mode. Now, the game was just announced for the Western audience this past week, and no alpha or beta test dates have been revealed, so for now, head over to their official English website in order to sign up for their newsletter to keep up to date on localization. Next up, we have a new legend reveal for our delegated half MOBA hybrid Fable Legends. This time, we get introduced to Evienne, who has spent all of her life living in a swamp guarding the legendary Sword of the Lake, waiting for a hero to come along that can use the sword to be, well, a hero. For generations, her family has been guarding the sword until one day, Evienne decides to not wait any longer for a hero and just wield the sword and be the hero herself. The problem is, the sword is a little bit bigger than she is. Well, it's not really a problem because it gives her the power to smash down enemies right and left. With one of her abilities, she's able to throw the sword outward, having it cut down her enemies and boomerang right back to her, which is always nice. Another ability lets her extend her sword outward, and the more enemies she hits, the more damage it does. And if that's not enough, she can summon a wall of blades that protects her, and any creature that decides to pass through it gets mutilated. It's pretty gruesome. Probably a legend I'm going to have to play when I get into the beta, based on what I've seen. Also this past week, Marvel Heroes 2016 has in fact arrived, bringing with it a wide array of new features, including new characters like Black Cat, Spider-Gwen, Captain Marvel, and a completely revamped Deadpool, just in time for the new movie. New skins and costume items, controller support, visual upgrades, and a whole new storyline to explore. Gazillion has also started upgrading the competitive aspect of the game, with new leaderboards being added in that will track the success of dedicated players to eventually launch tournaments down the road. One of the more prominent additions to the update, of course, is the announcement of the new story chapter called Secret Invasion. Now, it's based off a 2008 storyline of the same name that followed the Civil War and World War Hulk events. The new chapter will pit Marvel heroes against an invasion by the shape-shifting Skrulls and a contingent of Super Skrull hybrids gifted with a mix of powers from a variety of Marvel heroes and villains. So, all in all, the new update sets the game up for a really new, fresh year of content. So, definitely a good way to start off. Well, it looks like Hex Shards of Fate introduced its first ever PvE campaign this past week, and it's doing really well, according to their update post. The add-on is called Chronicles of Entrath, and not only does it help new players getting into the game, but it also challenges the more battle-hardened players that are used to the PvP. Chronicles of Entrath introduces dungeons, characters, skill trees, equipment, and of course a storyline. Now, the new tutorial teaches you first about the game mechanics, and then as you get more into the single-player campaign, it starts explaining deck building and more advanced applications. There's a lot to talk about what went into and is featured in the new PvE content here, but one of the cool parts is how they really executed the AI. Basically, they outfitted the AI with all of the statistics from every match that has ever been played in Hex, PvP-wise, and although the computer doesn't ever know what's in your deck, it can play the statistics gathered from those previous matches. But the developers decided to give the AI mobs profiles based on the lore of the game, which includes their own sets of psychoses that will make the AI act in ways that might not be the most statistically sound. So they're going to take advantage of certain aspects and sort of ignore others. Beyond all of that and so much more, they finally dropped the beta part of their development, so for anyone who has been waiting until launch before they try out the game, now's definitely time to try it. Next up, it looks like Crossout has fired up its first beta testing phase as of this past week. From now until the 7th of February, they're allowing all of the already registered users a chance to join the battle test, as well as a crap ton of new players. Thank goodness. Essentially, they want to stress test the servers, and so at this stage of the beta, players will get to experience new parts for the vehicles that have yet to be seen before, an improved crafting system, and the recently added faction system consisting of the scavengers, the traders, the lunatics, and the engineers. This will give players access to specific faction-based vehicles, rare vehicle parts, and access to new missions and bonus content depending on your buildup of reputation within a specific faction. Now, when I first saw this game at E3 last year, I've got to say I was really impressed, and I'm definitely looking forward to playing it. And a more public beta is probably just around the corner. And finally, for a last bit of news, in a surprisingly subtle way, Black Desert not only announced its start of the second closed beta, but it also announced its official launch date. According to the official site post, you have until February 26th to place your pre-order for the game and benefit from the early access and special items because the game actually launches on March 3rd. Of course, if you already pre-ordered one of the packs, you're automatically in the second closed beta test, set to begin on February 18th. Otherwise, there's still time to register for a chance to get access. In the meantime, the free character creator has officially launched, so you can spend all the time you need to prepare your characters for closed beta 2, and of course, launch day. But anyway, guys, that's about it for all the major MMO news and announcements for this week. Be sure to check out our PAX South coverage. There wasn't a lot of free-to-play titles this year besides Dreadnought and Brawlhalla. In fact, that's the only two. But we did get to see the awesome new top-down action RPG from PWE called Livelock. That was really cool. And also look forward to our cosplay showcase because this year, the cosplay was freaking intense. But like always, if you're looking for more information regarding a news featured in the recap, check the links in the description below. Otherwise, head over to MMOHuts.com for even more up-to-the-hour gaming news. Feel free to discuss the news in the comments below, and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Until next time, guys, that's going to be it for me. I'm James Blonde. See you out there, gamers.